I don't know why I'm telling you this. Maybe because I need someone to believe me before it's too late. Everything began the night I found that book. It wasn't supposed to be there. Hidden at the very back of the school library, tucked away behind dust and cobwebs. No title on the spine, just a cracked leather cover that felt warm under my fingers, as if it had been waiting for me. I should have left it alone. But curiosity is a kind of poison. The book was filled with stories, strange fairy tales I had never heard before. The ink seemed too dark, too fresh. And the illustrations, they weren't just drawings. They felt alive, like the eyes of the creatures inside followed me as I turned the pages. That night, I brought it home. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't even tell my little sister, though she noticed me sneaking it upstairs. She always notices. When the house went quiet, when only the hum of the fridge and the occasional groan of the old pipes filled the silence, I opened the book again. My hands were trembling, though I told myself it was nothing, just a story. I began to read out loud. The words seemed to echo, though I wasn't speaking loudly. The air in my room grew heavier, thick, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. And then, I heard something. At first, I thought it was just the scratching of tree branches outside my window. But it wasn't. It was closer, inside, the sound of nails dragging against wood. I froze, the words dying in my throat. My eyes scanned the room, and for a moment I thought I saw movement in the shadows, something crawling just out of sight. My chest tightened, but I forced myself to laugh it off. Just my imagination. Just a story. But when I closed the book, the sound didn't stop. That night, I barely slept. Every time I drifted off, I'd hear it again. Scratching, breathing, the faint shuffle of something moving in the dark corners of my room. The next morning, my sister asked me why I had been talking so late at night. She said my voice didn't sound like mine. It was deeper, broken, like something else was reading with me. I tried to brush it off, but when I went back to the book, something had changed. The illustration on the page I'd left open, it wasn't the same. The creature that had been drawn there before, its head was turned now, and its eyes were staring directly at me. I told myself not to read it again. I swore I'd shove the book back where I found it, pretend none of it ever happened. But the problem was, it wouldn't let me. Every time I passed my desk, my eyes were drawn to it. The way it sat there, as if waiting. The air around it felt heavier, darker, like the book itself was breathing. By the second night, I gave in. This time, I didn't whisper. I read aloud. The story was about a family, a father, a mother, 2 children. The words described their laughter, their warmth, their fragile happiness. And then, the thing that came for them. A creature with skin like ash and eyes like hollow moons. It crawled out of the dark and whispered hunger into their ears. As I read, the temperature in the room dropped. My breath misted in the air, and then I heard it again, the scratching. Not just one sound this time, more. From inside the walls, under the floorboards, in the ceiling above me. And then my sister screamed. I ran into her room, heart pounding so hard I thought I'd collapse. She was sitting up in bed, tears streaking her face, pointing toward the corner. It was here, she sobbed, right here, watching me. I told her it was a nightmare, but her eyes told me she wasn't lying. And when I glanced at that corner, the shadows seemed too thick, too heavy, like they didn't belong. That night, none of us slept. My parents thought it was just nerves, just the house settling. But they didn't hear what I heard. They didn't see the faint scratches on my sister's bedroom door the next morning. 3 long, deep marks, as if something had dragged claws across the wood. I tried to stop. I did, but the book changed again. The family in the story, it wasn't strangers anymore. It was us, our house, our rooms. Even the curtains by the kitchen window were drawn exactly the way my mom always left them at night. I should have burned it, but when I held the book over the fireplace, my hands wouldn't let go. They shook violently, my chest locked up, and for a terrifying moment, I thought I couldn't breathe, as if the book had wrapped invisible chains around me, daring me to try. So instead, I read on, and that's when it stepped out. From the pages like ink spilling into reality, a shape began to form in the corner of the living room. A thin, twisted silhouette, limbs too long, fingers scraping the floor as it pulled itself forward. Its eyes glowed white, just like the drawings. My mother gasped, my father shouted, but no one moved. We were frozen, helpless, watching it crawl closer. And then, it smiled. The smile was the worst part. Crooked, wide, splitting its face like a wound that would never heal. That thing wasn't just here to scare us, it was enjoying it. My father grabbed the fire poker and swung at it, but the metal passed straight through, like smoke. Yet the thing didn't vanish. It only tilted its head, mocking him. And then it reached for my sister. Her scream will never leave me. It wasn't just fear, it was pain. The creature's hand sank into her shoulder like it was pushing through water. I ran at it, desperate, screaming, clawing, but when I touched its arm, my skin burned. The smell of rot filled the room. That's when I realized this wasn't just a story anymore. The book wasn't about us, it was writing us. The pages turned on their own, faster and faster, words scrawling across them in fresh ink, describing exactly what was happening. Every scream, every movement, every hopeless attempt to fight back. We weren't the readers anymore. We were the characters. And the book wasn't finished. The lights in the house flickered, buzzing violently before they died, plunging us into darkness. I could still see its eyes glowing in the black. My mother whispered a prayer, but the sound only made the thing laugh, a low, guttural rumble that shook the floor beneath us. My father shouted for us to run. We tried, but the house had changed. The hallway stretched endlessly, doors leading to nowhere, windows showing only black. We were trapped inside its story. I don't remember when I fell. I just remember the book in my hands again, open, waiting. And in that moment, I knew if I stopped reading, the story would stop too. Maybe even the creature. So I read. My voice was shaking, but I forced the words out. And as I did, the thing froze, its grin fading. The ink on the pages twisted, shifting, changing. I was no longer reading what it wanted. I was writing. With every word, I tried to trap it back inside, to lock it between the pages. The house groaned, the walls bent inward, and the creature shrieked like metal tearing apart. And then, silence. When I opened my eyes, it was morning. The house was normal again. My sister was asleep in her bed, unharmed. My parents acted as if nothing had happened. They didn't remember. Only I did. The book sits under my bed now, closed. I haven't touched it since that night. But sometimes when the house is quiet, I hear the faint rustle of pages turning on their own, and I know it's waiting for me to read again.
Subscribe to Horror Storybook.